Welcome to Leadership in the Line of Fire with your host, Brad Howe. Join Brad as he dives into the heat of leadership challenges, where the flames of business uncertainty meet the hard-earned lessons of firefighting. Embrace change, master agility, and become the trusted leader guiding your team through the smoke. Get ready to ignite your leadership journey.
Welcome to episode 5 in the Leaders in the Line of Fire podcast. You've heard me talk about the importance of being a good leader, whether it's on the fireground or in a business setting. But today I'm going to take it a step further by examining how your leadership style specifically affects your team's agility during a crisis. That's right. Your approach to leadership isn't just a one-size-fits-all. It's dynamic and can significantly influence how your team reacts when the pressure is on. If you're a subscriber, we've covered various angles of leadership, but today's focus will be honing in on the styles and approaches that make differences in high-stress situations. Whether you're fighting a fire or steering a business through unexpected challenges, the style of leadership you adopt can be a game changer. So stick with me as I dive into some real-life information and offer some valuable tips for fine-tuning your leadership style. I'm going to cover two main aspects of leadership today: leadership approaches and leadership styles. Now, they might sound the same, but in reality, they mean different things. So firstly, let's look at some leadership approaches. Imagine you're a firefighter facing an inferno. Your leader's style will greatly influence how you not only tackle the flames, but also how your team reacts dynamically. The same principles apply in the business world. When a major issue arises, like a network outage or an impending deadline, your leader's approach sets the tone for how the problem is going to be solved. What you do as a leader yourself affects everyone around you. So what are the key things that define a leader's effectiveness? A, decisiveness in moments of crisis. Your ability to make quick, sound decisions is crucial when the time is of essence, both in firefighting and in the business setting. Tony Robbins said, "It's in your moment of decision that your destiny will be shaped." This is so true. Sometimes you just have to pull up your big boy or your big girl pants and make a call based on what's in front of you. It can be scary, but for everyone around you and yourself, not making a decision is far worse than making a decision that's wrong. Remember, as I've always suggested, stop, evaluate, and then decide. Always take a little bit of time to think about your decisions and take in some information before you make a decision. Moving quickly doesn't mean making snap decisions. In my experience, go with your gut. Now, that's a strange thing to say because it's a reactive sort of situation. But the fact of the matter is your gut is informed by your experience. And I've always found that stood me in good stead. When you're making decisions, remember you can only trust yourself and you can only do your best in that situation at that time. You can't expect more from yourself than you're capable of. And that brings me to my final point on this one, actually, which is when time is of essence and you can't make a decision, hand over command to someone who will. This is super important, especially when things are dangerous, like on the fireground. If you can't make a decision, go up and find someone who will, who's further up ranking than you are. Let's look at B, the team dynamics under stress. A leader's style impacts the morale and effectiveness of a team during high-stakes situations. You have to find a style that's you, and you can't be someone else. And this is where you hear the term authenticity. Now, not everyone will like it, but that's normal. You're going to split people down the middle. You're going to have some people who love you, some people who hate you, and some people who are quite happy to sit in the middle and not worried either way. If your style enables you to work well with others, then stick with it and improve on it. If you don't grow, then how will you become a better version of yourself? What I always suggest is to watch other leaders and learn from them as well. Take what works and drop what doesn't. And of course, only follow leaders who work in the same stress level environments that you do. There's no point in looking at a leader who works in an entirely different field to you that has no stress, because their style of leadership, given the situation, is entirely different to what you'll need under pressure. You can look at what they're doing, but think about it and compare it across to your own situation. Remember, how you react will affect your team, so make sure you stand behind your conviction. C, ability to balance autonomy and control. Leaders need to walk in between giving team members the freedom to act and maintaining control of the situation. This balance changes depending on the severity of the crisis and the time frames involved. Leaders make other leaders. Everybody needs their chance to show their skills. So there's a balance there between autonomy, in other words, giving people the power to be a leader, but also giving a level of control to yourself over that person so that they're learning in an environment that actually improves their growth. Give people a task. How they do it is up to them within reason. You can't be there telling people how to do it. Micromanagement is not the answer that you need to be a successful leader. You have to trust people to apply the skills they've learned in that task to achieve a certain goal. Make sure you follow up with them so that they know they're going to be accountable. Again, autonomy and control. Everyone in their team needs a bit that they're responsible for. And that we see that on the fire ground. Obviously, sector commander gives something to the crew leader gives elements of that to the crew that they're responsible for achieving. So as a team, everybody moves forward together. Remember span of control, which is 1:5. One person can only manage up to 5 other people or 5 teams. You need to trust people to ensure that other people get their jobs done. So in the case of a sector commander trusts the crew leader to make sure that his team or her team get the job done. And this is super important. Passing that trust on is a sign of leadership. It also gives them a chance to lead and each of those people to lead their little section of the job that needs to be completed. I like to think of leadership a bit like an onion. The team within the team, and the span of control gives us that in a way because you've got 1:5, 1:5, 1:5. So as you peel back each layer, you see the next 5 people underneath the next 5 layers. So leadership is always changing, but you need to balance autonomy and control for both yourself and for the people in the teams. When things get tough, it's time to step up and make those hard calls. It might be scary, but the worst thing you can do is not to decide at all. Your gut feeling is often your experience talking, so trust it and take action. Remember, if you find yourself hesitating too much, that's a sign that you may need to pass the torch to someone else who can make those quick decisions. This isn't just true for firefighters handing over command. It also applies in the business world. So the second thing we're looking at today is leadership styles. In both firefighting and business, the way a leader acts can make a huge difference, especially in a crisis. For instance, some leaders make quick decisions and tell everyone what to do. They don't waste time. And this can be great in a fire where every second counts. In a business, this might also help when a deadline looms. Other leaders might involve everyone in making the plan. They ask for ideas and try to make everyone feel important. This can help firefighters feel like a real team all working together. It can do the same in business, especially when things are changing and folks are worried. What's amazing is that there's no perfect way to lead. It's also the most difficult part about leading. The best leaders can switch between styles depending on what's going on. When the pressure is high, like fighting a fire or facing a business crisis, the leader's style can make or break how well the team acts. What do we mean by leadership styles? There are authoritative leaders who dictate every move, democratic leaders who seek input from the team, and laissez-faire leaders who allow individuals to make their own decisions. Each style has its pros and cons, and there's probably a dozen other styles as well, but this is just 3 that I think I see most commonly, and you probably see in your life too. Which is the most effective when the stakes are high? Is it better to have one decisive individual or to collect input from the whole team? Let's look at authoritative leaders first. Authoritative leaders have clear vision and direction. They have a strong sense of the bigger picture, and they know how to guide their team towards achieving a specific goal. They provide clear vision and offer a roadmap to success, instilling confidence in their team members. They inspire and motivate. They're generally really skilled at energizing their team, offering inspiration and encouragement. They use positive reinforcement to motivate team members, helping to build a climate of trust and enthusiasm. And lastly, they're open to feedback, but they're decisive. So while they're firm in their decisions, authoritative leaders are also open to input from their teams. They listen carefully, but they are unafraid to make the final call, striking a balance between being approachable and maintaining control. This type of leader probably best describes me. On the fireground, I feel this type of leadership works best, but I've seen all types of leaders on the fireground, and they move back and forth between different styles of leadership. And I've seen the same thing in business. Most often, elements such as decisiveness are absolutely essential during times of rapid change. So in a business, if things are changing rapidly around you, being decisive is super, super important. Most often, you will see this sort of leader as the founder of a business or in some sort of controlling position in organizations. The second type of style of leadership is democratic leaders. Democratic leaders highly value the inputs of ideas of their team. They often involve the team in the decision-making process, fostering an environment where everybody feels heard and valued. They're skilled at facilitating group discussions and encouraging collaboration. They believe that the best outcomes come from combining the strengths and perspectives of everyone in the team. And they encourage accountability. By involving team members in the decision-making process, democratic leaders help build a sense of ownership and accountability among team members. This often leads to higher engagement and better execution of tasks. I've seen this type of leader a lot in schools and the education fields. And I feel that they're great when you have plenty of times to do things and you're putting plans in place long term because you've got time to sit there and discuss and talk about and put different points of view forward, etc. But I think they're much slower on mission, in my opinion. When you've got a set time frame and you've got to move quickly, this sort of collaboration takes too much time. In my experience, it tends to be lower management positions because they can't make decisions by themselves. So in a business, you won't often see these people as business owners. More often than not, they'll be in lower management positions because they always have to get everybody else's opinion and really let everybody else make the decisions for them. Now, it doesn't mean they're not leading. They're just leading in that way. And from my experience, probably not the sort of person who would start a business. Lastly, type C, we have laissez-faire leaders. Now, laissez-faire means hands-off management. They give their teams lots of freedom. They trust their team to make their own decisions and solve problems on their own, which means they don't micromanage or interfere all that much. The leadership style allows team members to feel empowered and take initiative. It can be especially effective when team members are highly skilled and motivated, as they don't need much direction. Now, I see this in firefighters. They are that way, but that's not the way the fireground works. So sometimes the type of leadership depends on the situation because the situation dictates a certain type of leadership within that. So this is where I talk about combining different styles into your style of leadership. While they provide resources and support needed, laissez-faire leaders generally don't give much feedback unless asked. This could lead to a lack of structure and discipline if not balanced with some level of oversight. These sort of leaders don't last long in my experience. They've got their place, but I feel in high stress, rapidly changing environments, they don't tend to be as effective. Now, some aspects are good, such as empowering team members, but the lack of oversight sometimes means that very little is achieved. They want to be in charge, but it seems like they don't want to take responsibility. They're often immature or naive as to what it takes to be a leader in a rapidly changing world. They think that they can be your friend, and that will mean that you'll respect them. But it doesn't always work that way. They also won't call people into line on their mistakes, deal with HR issues, or dealing with interpersonal issues such as disagreements between team members and those sorts of things, because they don't want the confrontation. I've seen people like this turn big businesses into small businesses very quickly. So think very carefully if you are this type of leadership style. Again, it's not that it doesn't work. It's just that it may not be the right style depending on the situation you're going into. So consider all the aspects of it. So what type of leader are you? Are you one of those three? Or are you a mixture? Or are you an entirely different type? I think a good leader uses a mix of leadership styles as it depends on the situation as to what's called for. You have your base style for sure, but then you overlay elements depending on the task at hand. Your way of leading really matters when you're in charge of a team. If you're the type who likes to make all the decisions yourself, you'll probably tell people what to do quickly, especially in tough times. But if you like to hear what your team thinks, you might ask for ideas before you decide anything. Both ways can be good, but also have downsides. The key is to know when to use which style. Sometimes you might need to switch it up depending on what's going on. Being able to change your style can help your team react better to different situations, whether it's a big fire or a sudden problem in your business. Whether you're leading a team of firefighters into a massive fire or guiding a business project, your leadership style needs to match the situation. If you're always asking for input before making a decision, you might lose valuable time that could be used to contain a fire or meet the project deadline. Quick and decisive action can be crucial in both scenarios. On the flip side, if you're making decisions without getting any feedback from your team, you're operating blindly. In firefighting, this could mean not knowing the real conditions facing crews. In business, you might not be aware of the challenges your team is facing. In both cases, you miss out on valuable information that could influence your choices. It's all about balance. There are times to gather input and there are times to make a quick decision. Whether you're in a fire truck or a boardroom, knowing what to do and when to do it is the key to being a good leader. In today's episode, I've looked at different leadership styles and how they affect decision-making, team dynamics, and the balance between freedom and control, especially in high-stakes environments like firefighting and fast-growing businesses. Whether you're quick to make a call or value team input, remember that your style and the style you choose can either make or break the situation. Just like a firefighter has to adapt to ever-changing situations, so does a business leader. No matter your approach, the key is to keep your team on focus, adapt to the situation at hand, and stay true to who you are as a leader. Thanks for joining me, and be sure to catch the next episode where I'll delve even deeper into the world of leadership.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership in the Line of Fire. If today's episode sparked some insights, please share it with your friends and colleagues. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support fuels this journey. Join us next time as we continue to explore leadership lessons from the fire line. Until then, keep leading with courage and agility.